Well, we're here in Bostwick at the Cotton Gin Festival, and as you can see as you come into town, here's one of the cotton fields, and some of the people are out picking some cotton to take home. As you can see, there are quite a few tractors here for the Bostwick Cotton Parade. Another view of the tractors out here in the field getting ready for the Cotton Gin Parade here in Bostwick. There are also a lot of vendors here with just about anything you can think of, homemade, manufactured, that you can buy here at the Cotton Gin Festival. It's about 40 minutes till the parade starts, and as you can see, the people are beginning to come in, stake out their places where they can sit and enjoy the parade.
Hello from Bostwick, Georgia, and the annual day that everybody comes out and show their tractors. They don't care if they look at anybody else or not, but they want to look at the tractors. My cohort, again this year, Conrad Barnes. And Conrad, good to have you.
Good to be here. Such a beautiful day. All the people seem to be excited and waiting on the parade.
I believe the crowd grows every year. People still coming in here in droves, and that is something else.
Yes, it is. I noticed that they're all wandering around trying to find a special place so they can watch that parade.
Right, the preliminary events of the introduction, the prayer, the national anthem will be played here, and the fact that we will have a tractor parade, and as usual, I hope it's as big or bigger than the ones we've had in the past.
Yes, I tell you, you never know what to expect, but there will be plenty of John Deeres along with some competitive models too. So it's something that we can all enjoy and look forward to.
All right, more John Deere tractors than any other brand, and you're proud of that, right?
I'm proud of that. This event is sponsored by the North Georgia Two-Cylinder Club, and that identifies that it will be a John Deere show.
All right, so it's going to be an exciting day in Bostwick, Georgia, and if you turn out to see it, you'll be glad you did, because you're going to find friends, and you're going to make friends too, don't you think?
Oh, sure. You look at the people, they talking to each other and motoring around, enjoying themselves, and such a beautiful, warm, sunshiny day to enjoy the parade.
And I appreciate this. Every year it seems like it gets colder and colder, but something happened. We are warmer today than usual.
Yes.
It's one of the nicer days that you can have for a tractor parade. And the fact that I noticed in the past couple of years, Conrad, that they do not allow lawnmowers in the parade anymore.
Well, I'm just assuming that they're just a little too much of a distraction, and they don't really fit into the parade of the tractors because they're small. So I'm just assuming that that's the reason we don't see them.
Right, they have the big tractors and the smaller tractors too, like the garden tractors is what we called them years ago, and the fact that the people enjoy different sized tractors, and also we'll probably have the cotton pickers in the parade.
Yes, there will be all types, I'm sure. All models of John Deere go back to the late 20s, 30s, and 40s. There will be some modern ones in here too, with the full cabs and air conditioning. You get a chance to see how they've changed over the years. It's amazing how they've grown. Even since I worked for John Deere, there was no such thing as an air-conditioned cab, and now that's pretty well everything you see.
Conrad, I was down here in Bostwick about a week ago to make arrangements for them to have us a stage put the television equipment on, and so we could see what was going on. And I noticed that at that time they had the gin was all to pieces. It was scattered everywhere. They were working on the inside of the gin, and the fact that it was all in different pieces. And they have it running, and it's now running too. I'm sure that they just have it shut down at the present time, but we don't hear the hum in the background. Otherwise, when we go through the gin, it's nice and neat in there now. So if you have the opportunity, for you people viewing this event, that if you go through Bostwick, stop and watch them gin some cotton, and they have free gifts they're giving away today.
Yes, I noticed that if you look there back at the people standing around the gin, there's a lot of interest in it. Even though they refurbished it somewhat, people are still walking in and looking at it because it's very unique in order to separate the cotton fiber from the seed, and the gin it does just that.
Well, on the way down here, I mentioned to you guys that there's still a lot of cotton in the field, and it's the 1st of November. So I'm sure that's the reason that the gin was down. They could not gin the cotton, so they left it in the field, and now they'll start picking that cotton that's all the way around. So if you people ride through here, you'll see a lot of cotton still in the field, and you're wondering why, and that is the reason why, is because the gin has been down, and this is the only gin in this area.
That is true, and if you'll also notice, the fields are very white, which indicates that the cotton is ready for picking. And John Deere picker probably will be in the parade. It has in the past, and you can see how cotton is picked year-round by having mechanical harvesting available.
The parade will get underway just in a short time. As of right now, we want to invite you to come down. If you can't make it this year, come next year. You'll enjoy it. And by the way, you can pick up copies of the tractor parade in Monroe, Georgia, next door to Pizza Hut. Creative Artists is a place. Mr. Paul Mullins and the people there invite you to stop by and pick up a copy of the parade. And it's a DVD, really nice.
Yes, it is, and it will have the parade in its entirety. You'll see it from the beginning to the end, and sometimes there will be interviews after with the owners of some of the tractors in the parade, telling how they located it, the refurbishing of it, and why they have it. It's interesting to talk to these people. There's a love for these old tractors, and I'm glad to see that because it's very interesting.
Brings back a lot of memories. So the parade is about to get underway. Hello again, everybody. Verlin Eaton along with the man that knows everything about a John Deere tractor, and Conrad Barnes.
Hey,
and the parade is about to get underway, so we certainly hope that you people, as you view it after it's over, that you will enjoy it on a DVD from Creative Artists in Monroe, Georgia, next door to Pizza Hut. And the parade is coming on.
Yes, we have the noise, so we know it's starting.
Right. Sirens are part of the parade. Sheriff's Department is using an old car.
Take a look at that Bel Air Sheriff's car. That's a 55 Chevy. Boy. It's a good-looking vehicle.
Yes. Morgan County Fire Department, they have some good-looking equipment.
You can hear them coming if nothing else.
Right. Hey, if you remember that while the national anthem being played, there was no kneeling. At least we didn't see any, did we?
That's correct.
How many tractors do you figure is coming through?
Oh, I don't know. There'll be 75 or so, because you see one coming now, which is an inline cylinder design. It looks like a 4010. Fire department is about to make it, so that means the tractors are coming.
And the first one is a John Deere. And it's a nice one too.
Well maintained. It's a 4020. That's about a 62 model, I guess.
Sure is running quiet. It's not popping.
63. Very popular and one of the most iconic Deeres that's been made. Inline engine, 4s and 6s. People enjoying the hayride with the cotton in the hay.
One thing about the tractor parade, it's different every year.
Absolutely. You never know what you're going to get, but it's all interesting and well worthwhile to see.
I believe there's more people here this year than before. Do you contribute that to the weather?
Yeah, yes, I'm sure the weather has a lot to do with it because it's such a beautiful, warm day.
That's my kind of tractor.
It's quiet, isn't it? Farmer All-M, that's a very popular model.
It's a horse too.
It goes back to the late 50s and 60s.
Right. Braswell Holiness Church.
Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts.
Those little
Always
fellas.
good to see them out.
Yes, participating in a good program.
It is that.
GMRC Youth of Bostwick, Georgia. Globe Memorial Baptist Church.
There's a good-looking pickup, Chevy model. That probably.
Let me straighten that out. It's
go back in the
Gibbs
60s.
Memorial.
I'm not familiar with each one of the models of the pickups, but it's a good-looking one.
What about that truck?
And a Ford pickup. You remember the I-beam Ford pickups back in the 60s?
Right, yeah, sure do.
That's an enjoyable vehicle. I had one of those at one time. Wasn't that quite that fancy, but when I lived in Pensacola, Florida, head to the beach with those big tires. You could just ride on the beach as much as you wanted to.
Well, that is a slick vehicle.
Thunderbird's changed a little over the years too.
GMC.
Pickup, been around a long time. You
Yes,
know they're
sir.
celebrating their 100th anniversary this year.
Really? Yes.
Another pickup. That's an I-beam model.
You got loud mufflers on it too.
Hey, look at the guy driving that one.
Utility vehicle. That is a
That
nice
one is
one.
named Mule. I've not seen that one. It's probably something just been introduced because it has doors on it. You notice that?
Yes. Year of Temple. They participate every year in this parade.
Parade wouldn't be complete about a Model A being cut down, and well, that's a pickup. One of the
Convertible,
first pickups
too.
of Fords. Boy, he's got that one all fixed up too.
Yes, sir. That's the Dukes of Hazzard right there. Hey. Hey. Cue to me. Y'all in the view of the camera, please.
Ah, there's a unique one now. You have
Y'all
to
in
sit
view of
if
the
you
camera.
have to sit if you stand there. You have to sit because the videotape will coming down.
Now what's that? A radio flower wagon? That is a nice one.
Yes, it is.
Another
And
one.
that's a big one there.
Yes, sir. Nice one. I must be getting old. I like quiet vehicles.
I love these old Model A's, how they've been restored and fixed up, and fancy ones.
That's
some of them
another
with-
slick
Some of them
vehicle,
with
too.
spare tires on the fender. Look how they used to travel with all your trunk space you had in the back. It's all tied on.
Santa Claus.
Gotta have Santa Claus everywhere you look. I love the horses too. It's a magnificent animal.
Rocky Hill Farms, Boswick,
Here comes
Georgia.
your cotton pickers. We were talking about mechanical cotton pickers before. John Deere 499. I've been to the field with those quite often.
Have you?
Work on the spindles and all the.
How much will that basket hold?
Yeah, well, that's about 5 bales. I love the way the old Deere sounds with the twin exhaust and with the gutted example too. I used to own an A model. Boy, that was always a lot of fun. That's
you-
an early A model there.
Did you take notice of the drivers?
Yes, sir. Drivers is always good. They let there's one of the another A, all well restored. Batteries on the underneath the steering wheel. Well, hey there. Tractors have changed a little bit over the years. That one still has a steel wheel. You sound good. North Georgia Two-Cylinder Club, the sponsor of the parade.
Another Farm All M, a beautiful
Yeah.
tractor.
Pulling the trailer with people that's enjoying themselves, riding and looking at the people.
Ellis Chalmers, that's an old tractor.
That was you notice the driver's a little offset.
Yeah.
That was done so that it'd be good for farming of garden.
Right.
You can watch the row and make sure that you didn't plow where you weren't supposed to. Ford's one of the popular models, all 8 ends. Some model of the 8 end, 9 ends, red bellies we call them.
That's a clean looking tractor. That John Deere B.
Hey! He's farm all with a gutted muffler. Make
Hey.
it sound a little different. It may be an Oliver, but it's still running.
Ma'am? You'll have to sit down, the camera.
A 50 model that goes back to the late 50s, early mid 50s. International. Boy, he got that one painted all spruced up. Pharma Oil was the ag division, and International was another division that made tractors with wide front ends. 8-in Ford. Back when I was a kid.
y'all can't sit there. The camera.
You have to sit if you stay there.
Come on, Marvin, you can't sit there.
Yeah, you have to sit if you stay there. Videotape up there.
Some nice looking tractors, and they're sprayed every year.
Farmall B. You notice the operator's offset on that one too. Good garden tractor. Bulldozer blade, boy, that works well for some of the early farm models. You can refurbish terraces, clear up roads, level.
He must
ground
have a
with it.
dairy.
Out of Montgomery. Oh, listen to that one clucker, would you? 336 cubic inches in 2 cylinders. That's a good sized tractor. Horsepower wasn't that much, but the way it was geared,
Yes.
you could hardly stop it. Tires would turn no matter what. Just move that way a little bit. You can stand up.
I'm just loyal to
Yeah.
an M Farmall. That's what we had on the farm when I was growing up. And you're talking about a horse of a tractor. It's a horse of a
Yeah.
tractor. It'd pull anything you put behind it.
Bright shiny green, and that one has a 3-point hitch. That was unusual for A models, and the number on that was 801. 3-point hitch, and it was extra added model. 4440 inside engine, runs about 120-30 horsepower. Big tires,
Hey folks,
has the front and wheel weights. You have to sit.
that John Deere wagon is nice.
That one's running exceptionally well. John Deere B is a little small. That's one of the smallest models of the B model, and that one is already naked on the back. Hey, seat belt on that one, so she can ride in the rear.
It looks as if some of these tractors, the John Deere, they have very little motor to them.
Yeah, it's still a 2-cylinder, but it's that was the most popular of the 2-cylinder models of the littered series. B was by far the most popular. Hear it pop a little bit, but it's all in time. This one's a little unusual. You notice the front tires have a single
This
rib,
one's jacked up.
and it's a high crop model. Not only is it a high crop, but it's also an LP. Very, very unusual.
Driver has to get out and use a parachute to get to the ground. I'm
720 goes to the mid 50s.
I'm just saying that because he's different. It's
Yep.
so high.
Yep, high crop. Cultivating crack
Ellis
farm
Chalmers.
growth. It's real tall.
Man, you can barely hear that one running.
Oh yeah. He really worked on that one to get it looking that good and painted that.
Kubota. That's
The
a
right
real
color.
popular tractor now. The Kubota is.
Kubota is a very, very popular model. It came along and came out of Japan. Very, every one I've been familiar with has been very reliable. Go back to the mid 70s on the 7320, still an inline engine. That one is probably around, I don't know, 120 horsepower.
The price of tractors have really gone up.
Slightly. Many of these has been refurbished. It's worth more than when they sold for new. John Deere M, excellent tractor for gardening, small work around the farm, pulling trailers, trailers with when you fall in a hay baler. Still a 2-cylinder though.
Yes. These are 4 cylinders. Ford's not a bad looking tractor either.
That's one of the later models. I don't know what year model that might be. Probably late 70s. Ford sold everything to when they went out of the tractor business. Sold everything to the hay people. All of a sudden, I can't quite remember their name.
Sold. Ford sold out. Are you saying?
Yeah, sold everything to New Holland. That's
Did
who
it?
it was. They sold. So the tractors now, they're not Ford, they're New Holland. Super M was a little more horsepower. I think had a torque converter in some of them. Oh yeah. Old Model GP model. Hey there. Good to see you. Got it running good too. This bee's a little different. A little different from the others. It's a wide front end.
Hey, ma'am.
You have to sit if you stay there. I love the sound of that G with those twin, with that straight pipe. A lot of formals this year.
Yes, sir.
They still available. Probably a little less expensive to refurbish. But you're beginning to see a lot of T-shirts and memorabilia now that's promoting the Farmall line.
A quiet tractor.
The C-mold there hadn't been painted yet, but I bet you he's using it around the farm also. Wouldn't you think so?
That 80 Ford has been around a long time.
Another red belly Ford. Boy, you talking about a utility tractor that's handy. That is one of them. Here's a very unusual Ford model. Look at that tricycle.
Yeah.
That's unusual. You don't see many tricycles. 4-cylinder. I don't know what. I'm thinking of the horsepower, I guess around 40, 50, in that neighborhood. One of the later model John Deere's, they call it utility models. But it's a good looking and good sounding. Now he's got that one. You can count the revolutions on that one. He's probably in about 4th gear. With it idle down, that way to keep moving the right speed. But it gives you the sound of that engine.
You could go to sleep with his
Yeah,
tractor.
that's right.
So quiet. Here's one with a lot of rubber on it.
Yeah, they've been doing some work on the carrying a big implement on the back because you got all those front weights. Dual tires on a model like that is probably a little unusual, but nowadays they even have duals on the front.
Do they? Yes, I remember that.
40 is very popular. 40 is the model that came after the MT. You notice this Ford is a little lower on the back. That's due to the size tires and the way the axle comes out of the transmission. .720 diesel.
When I was coming up on a farm,
Well, yeah, one of John Deere's first diesels. You had to be careful with that one. It would run backwards if you when you cranked it.
When I was coming up on a farm, we had a dairy next to us, and he had John Deere tractors. He had to change brands because he said that popping it disturbed the cows. They didn't give as much milk from hearing that popping all day.
Set it and forget it. That's what he's done. Got to going forward and engine idle down. That one's with a drawbar. Doesn't have a 3-point hitch. Standard tractor tires. .630, one of the last of the John Deere lettered series. Numbered series. The 630 goes from 58 to 60. '70 came out.
That's
in,
an older one.
55, 56 along in there. That one has a pony motor for cranking the diesel. Little gasoline engine. It's on the door on the sides where you gas in it and it starts the engine. Farmall 300. Just has it's equipped with a 3-point
Well, it
hitch.
seems like when they have
Wide front end.
wide front end, it's harder to turn over if you're in the field.
Well, it's a little safety margin with a wide front end.
Right.
You got 4 points on the
Garden
ground rather
tractor.
than 3.
There goes a garden tractor.
He's got the plow on it with the scooters. Good garden tractor. That's what it was made for.
Hamby Farm. Here's a Georgia.
Nothing like a gutted muffler. Now he did a good job putting that Oliver together. You know, they don't have an Oliver model now. It's all part of White and then some of the other manufacturers now.
Stripling's General Store.
Sign on it says a 1950 Model G.
Yeah, what's all this?
That's a corn snapper.
One snapper.
Set up on the Ford with a tricycle front wheels.
It throws it in a
Two
trailer.
rows of corn, and it snaps the ears off, runs them up, and puts them in a trailer.
Does it shuck them?
Beg your pardon?
Does it shuck them? Shuck
No,
the corn?
no. No, it
Okay.
just breaks them off. Now this one's a little different. Before the styling came along, it's John Deere butt head, but it's still a 2-cylinder tractor run by Magneto. Mostly a drawbar tractor. Does have a PTO, but he has it. Boy, it has it running exceptionally well. General purpose. All but came along in the early to mid to late 30s. About 39, 40 models, they were all pretty well styled.
That's an old one.
Yep. Runs well. Has a drawbar and a PTO. You notice that it has the word John Deere on the axle castings on the back.
I must say, this is John Deere country.
Yes, it is, and this is an H model here. That's the first one I've seen in the parade is the H. That's smaller than the B model, which you see there.
I'll use one of those a lot of days. Farm all in.
What in the world's that making so much noise? Farmall Cub, boy, that's a later model. Oh yeah, I see it now. one has a 6-cylinder engine in it. Straight pipes. Give you an idea just how an engine without a muffler would sound.
What did I say about John Deere?
Kind of roars, doesn't it?
Look at them farm all.
Yeah, 43.
Yeah.
You know, during the war, they let a lot of the tractor manufacturers manufacture a few tractors simply because everybody had to eat. And that was one of the best ways to have a garden, was to have the tractors available for the cultivation of the garden.
They still had to be cranked on gasoline and then change over to fuel.
Well, most of these are gasoline. All the Deeres that we've seen up to this point, except maybe the butt heads, the ones unstyled, might be distillate type fuel. I tell you, I'm like you now. I like the quietness. Massey Harris. That was a Canadian manufacturer that
Massey Harris.
came along with some. I'm sorry, not a Canadian, but I think it came out of England.
Now that thing costs some money.
Yeah, International made some big ones too.
Now hiring.
With a 3-point hitch with a quick coupler. Has a lot of front weights.
A turbo farm all.
A lot of diesels, turbo diesels. All running well. Farmall made a lot of different models. That was a popular one that I never ran into that particular model too much, but it was quite popular because I saw them quite a bit.
986.
That was equipped with a buddy seat so he can take his significant other along with him. I'm trying to see if he has a 3-point hitch. No, he has a drawbar. He's just using it for drawbar work, like pulling trailers, plows, and other implements. Very popular for mowing highways, low center of gravity, good clearance. I have a good friend that just completed a 520 refurbishing. It looks real good. Boy, he's 530 is one of the smallest of the 530, 630, 730, 830
The General.
models.
Who made that?
I'm not familiar with the General. Cleveland Tractor, yeah, that's a Cleveland I am. They also make Cletrac, which was also a crawler.
That one has an extra seat, that garden tractor.
Yep, that's a cultivating tractor for garden.
Is he
You can see everything you do in front.
the person that sits in that seat, I guess, drops the seed.
54 model, 3-point hitch, 60. Oliver row crop, they call it, with the tricycle front end. That way you can see down and make sure you didn't plow out the road you're trying to cultivate.
Case. Have we seen a case come by?
I believe that's the first full case we've seen.
Yes.
New tires. Has a hitch on the back of it, quick hook. Farmall Cub, very popular model. 70s model, 4320. Around 130 horsepower. 3-point hitch.
That's a perfect combination of the John Deere tractor
That's
with
the
a blonde.
first 3020 we've seen. 3020 goes back to the 70s, early 70s. Inline engine, 4-cylinder too.
Smoking.
4020 is a 6-cylinder engine. Runs around 90 to 110 horsepower. 3-point hitch, tricycle front end, but you could also get it with a wide front end if you want it. Mini mow, little different, but still one that I saw quite often as I worked for John Deere. That one has a 3-point hitch. I'm just wondering if it's an added model, which I think it is.
I hear a John Deere pop-in tractor.
Yeah.
Has straight pike on it, right?
Gutted muffler. 35 it says on the tag on that one. Butt-headed model.
Jessica!
And they're still coming.
Yeah, still coming. That's I believe is a John Deere A.
Let me add
Looks
this.
like it.
Let me add this on. I believe this is the biggest crowd that they've had in Bostwick, Georgia for the tractor
I tell
parade.
you, it's the largest tractor amount of tractors I've seen. Quite a few Farmall, but I still believe that there's a few more John Deere's A models, B's, inline engine models than the Farmalls.
Are they cheaper than any other brand?
No, I don't think they're any cheaper. It's just that they might be more available. We're talking about Farmall farm tractors.
I'm surprised that we don't see more different brands of tractors like Kubota.
Well, Kubota doesn't go back to in the U.S. at least, doesn't go back to the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s.
Okay, that's the
They
reason.
came by after the war, 60s and 70s.
Had a Kubota dealership over in Mansfield.
Now this is a 40 wide front end, high crop, diesel, 58 model with a pony start. Now the 730 is a direct electric start, both high crops, both with 3-point hitches, 630 inline engine.
That's out of the ordinary. People in a manure spreader.
Yes, the only thing John Deere doesn't stand behind.
And they're in it.
Nancy Harris, Nancy Ferguson, after they got together. But it's all set. He has all later model Ford just before, I'm assuming that just before Ford sold everything. Ford 3020, we haven't seen many of those. 4-cylinder inline engines, that's 71, 61, 62, I should say. Maybe a 63 model. But the 60, notice the air cleaner's underneath the hood on that one. The only thing above the hood is the gutted muffler. Still has a 3-point hitch. I remember that early
New
days.
Holland.
There's a New Holland. Now that is they've developed their own over the years.
Is that a weight
But
stricken
that
out?
is the predecessor of the Ford line of tractors. You notice it has a full cab. Not only that, but it's air conditioned and heated, as well as a Case IH. All heated. That's current model tractors. Since I retired, almost all of them now come with the heated cabs, air
Really?
conditioned cabs. Some of the John Deeres have electronic controls now.
Oh, really?
I was looking at it on YouTube the other day.
Now, what year model is that?
I don't know, but it. I wanted to say it was a Chevy engine, but that I'm not sure of. It's also gas powered.
Massey Ferguson? No,
Yeah, an old four-wheel drive. It goes back
Massey
to the
Harrison.
late 20s, early 30s when they were trying to develop tractors.
Will that tractor pull much?
Yeah, it would pull what was available at the time that it was available. You know, where it was a plow, harrow, whatever, trucks. WD-45, which was Alice Chalmers' most popular model. Saw him quite a bit in the field as I demonstrated and worked with him. Worked with deer, that is.
That's a semi-tractor right
Take
there.
care of him, I see.
And that is the parade. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm looking at the horses here. You notice they have all the hoofs
You can't
are nice,
tell-
well cared for.
Can you tell me the year model of that horse?
I don't know. They're probably what, 8 or 10 years old. I noticed the shoes on them look real good. You take care of them.
Yeah, that guy right there, he can tell that horse to
Yeah, he doesn't have
part of 10, it'll part the ground 10 times.
yeah, he didn't have his cowboy boots on, and his boot got stuck in the stirrup.
Yeah. Well, that's it. A lot of people here, and it's going to take a while to clear out too. And they're going down to the concession stand area now of this event. And if you missed it, well, you can still get a preview of it by getting a DVD from Creative Artists located on West Spring Street next door to the Pizza Hut. And they'll be more than glad to sell 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5 to you, whatever you need. You'll sit back and enjoy the parade and while you're sitting in your home chair.
The Cotton Gin Festival seems to be another very successful event. People are now wandering around taking a look at all the booths and wandering down where the tractors are all set, so you can go by and talk to the owners, enjoy all the work they've put into them and how they have refurbished and got them running so good and so well.
All right, so that's the parade for this year, 2017, the Bostwick Parade in the area of Morgan County and in Bostwick, Georgia, held the first weekend of every November. So keep that in mind. Put it on your calendar. So,
And we will see you next year.
you're
Look
right.
forward to
And
it.
happy holidays to you coming up, and also a Merry Christmas to everybody too. So enjoy yourself, folks. And that's it from Bostwick, Georgia. Berlin Deaton along with Conrad Davis. Conrad Barnes. And I know him by that name, by the way. Conrad Barnes and Berlin Deaton. And we say adios from Bostwick and Bostwick, Georgia.
And I'm here to interview the owner of one of these high crops, 730 high crops. Both are diesels, and we're wondering just how they interest they had in them, and we wanted to see what they did to them in order to make them look as good and to run as well as they are now. Your name?
Warren Selby.
Warren, good to meet you.
Yes, sir. You too.
And my name is Conrad Barnes. I used to work for John Deere. Spent 30 years with them. Worked out of Baltimore, covered the southeastern, but it was mostly with the industrial division I worked. But when I first started with Deere, the high crops were quite popular.
Yes.
And I was with them when the 730s came out in the late 50s. How did you come by this particular unit?
Well, the 730 itself was owned by a man in Colorado. And it came up at an auction and we were watching it, so we went to the auction and kind of came back with it as one solid tractor.
Yes. What did you refurbish it, or was it refurbished when you bought it?
This one was fully restored and refurbished when we bought it.
Oh, yeah, you bought it all set up.
Yes, sir, we did.
Apparently, you have an interest in high crops. What enticed you toward this particular model?
Well, yes, Dad got into it first, and he decided that high crops, if we were going to get into them and restore tractors, it's more feasible, easy to resell a tractor, get your money back out of it
Right.
if you restore a rare tractor versus just a common one. So anyway, there's 8 different models, 8 configurations of the high crop, and so far we have 7 of the 8 configurations.
What are the other configurations?
There's the Model A high crop, the Model G, then it goes 60, 70, 720, 620, and 720 and 730.
Being a high crop, they're all unique because they higher off the ground, and you're able to pass over certain crops.
Yes.
What crops did you work with or see the units working in?
Most of them were shipped down to the southern states, either Florida, Louisiana, a lot to Southern California. They worked sugar cane, crops such as that they could clear easily and go through the fields.
I would often wondered if they tomato plants before they begin bearing, that would be a good one to work. And then corn in the area of before it gets too tall.
Yes.
You can plow corn. Now this particular model is an electric start. Have you had any problems with getting started on the colder days?
It has a compression relief, so you can let the compression off the motor and allow that motor to turn over and lubricate itself, and then put it back into gear.
All by
and it will
electric.
fire up easier.
Yeah, all by
Yes, sir.
electric starter.
Yes, sir.
Rather than a gasoline motor.
Yes.
This particular model 720 here is what they call a pony motor start. You have to crank that motor. It's a little V4, and you have to crank that motor, get it running full throttle, and pull the decompression lever, get it rolling over, and then release the compression on the engine, and then that will start it. That's a little different. It takes a little bit longer to.
The neat thing of that pony engine is the heat, the exhaust coming out of the pony engine goes through the water neck of the engine, and actually the exhaust heats the
Yep.
water in the motor to give it a
make
quicker
the diesel,
start.
yeah,
Yes,
make
sir.
the engine a little
Warms
bit
it up quicker.
different start. All these, all the John Deere's, especially this model, was direct injected, and that meant that the fuel went directly into the chamber. It was atomized by the little injector inside, and it made it a little easier to start. Some of the later models, it was not like what I call the Dubuque tractors.
Yes.
They were not directly injected, so it was a little harder to start on cold days. I can remember days when it was 0, and I worked at Deer Acres when I first came to, and that was right out of college, and went to work there in Monroe at Deer Acres, and they had all these models at the particular time. This was early mid 50s, and the diesels came along, and we had a little trouble starting them until we learned exactly what to do to get them going.
I think a lot of the farmers were a little hesitant to buy a diesel engine
Yeah, it
because
was,
they
but
just
once they got it-
learned about the gas motors.
Once they got them, they were all set to go.
Yes.
Now, what other equipment do you have on this particular one?
This one has the full 3-point hitch on it, which this one came from the factory. It has the front weights on it, and those are the main.
Does it come
difference.
standard with a wide front end,
It
or
does.
is that an added feature?
All the 720 and the 730 both come with the adjustable wide front end.
Yeah. Wide front ends make the tractor a little more stable.
And then you could also adjust the front end for your rows
Row
or
width.
whatever your
If you adjust the rear spacing, you got to adjust the front spacing at the same time.
yes, sir. On the rear end, you could spin your wheels around and offset your hub or inside your rim to throw your tires out on the back.
I noticed that there's a triple rim on the front tire. Some of the high crops have a single rib, which makes it a little easier to follow in the furrow and not weaver off quite so much. This is more of a universal, I guess you call it, way to farm. You can use it on hard ground. You can use it on pavement and places like that. Now, what size tire did you choose to put on here?
Well, this one was fully refurbished and built, and the tires were already on it when we got it. So.
It was a 38. I'm looking at the model.
Yeah.
It's a 16 thick 638, which means that it's a typical farm tractor tire that was used on almost all models. Now let's walk around and take a look at some of the sides of it. Paul, get the information there so that we can know exactly what we're looking at. You'll notice that it is, as it is on John Deere 2 cylinders, all hand clutch model. And I noticed that everything around the pulley looks just about new. So that is fairly great to have it looking as it should.
Yes, and thank you.
Now, look at the seat on it. The seat is one thing that was new added in those days. You see the hydraulic cylinder. When you're out in the field, it really helps the operator negotiate some of those roads and hills and valleys that you go through and bounce up and down. Paul, also get the serial number. Can you read the serial number? That will tell you what year it was made and give you some more information as to the identity of the tractor itself.
The 3-point hitch we got to take a look at.
Now he was talking about reversing the wheel to get the spacing different. You take these off and you can move the tractor back and forth, the wheel back and forth in order to get different row spacing. There's some other ways on doing it too, but that's one of the quickest ways. Now this one has a John Deere 3-point hitch. It come that way from the factory. And that was something new that was added on in the late 50s. Up until then, you had to buy it separate and put it on. It was called an 801 3-point hitch, and I mounted several of them in order to get them, because all the equipment coming was really nothing but 3-point hitch equipment.
Yes.
This particular model also is noted load and depth control. That means that as the load increased on it, if you pull on a plow, as the load on that plow increased through the top hitch, top link here, go down to one of these, and there's 4 different areas there where it can be adjusted. It will raise or lower it a little bit so that the momentum and the gear that you're in, you can maintain forward momentum. You don't have to stop and change gear or raise the tractor load. That was one of the good things that came along later on. Now I noticed it's a 3-point, there's a rotary PTO on it. What model is that? 540 or 1000?
It is 540. Yes.
540 RPM. That was the most popular model.
It was.
The 1000 was a little pulls and rotary cutters and some other things that was a little bit faster. Take a look at the final drives. You notice that the axles, up until get to the final drives, are pretty well the same as other Deere models. But if you look at the side of it, it has a drop gear, a drop housing down to get the tractor to raise it up to make the high crop out of it. John Deere is noted for its flywheel, and the flywheel on this one is enclosed, and you also notice that the starter on it is hooked up to the flywheel, and that of course is hooked up directly to the crankshaft, and it makes it easier to crank. He was mentioning that electric start, and that makes it, I won't say unique, but it makes it a little different, start it a little quicker. Now this one also doesn't have the 3-point hitch mounted as such, but it has the rock shaft. Rock shaft is this part that goes through here, and the 3-point hitch can be added onto that. It looks like he's got it set so he can tie it down to the truck and to haul it. John Deere steps. The steps was something that was added on later that make it easier to mount and get on, which is not unique. I saw several of them in the parade today. Now you notice there's two levers on the side of the seat. One will raise and lower the 3-point hitch. The other one works any implement that you have behind you're pulling that has a hydraulic cylinder on it. Do you have any attachments that you pull rather than on the 3-point hitch?
We have several pull type plows, but we don't usually pull them with the high crops.
Yeah, I can understand that because pulling is it's not too hard to do, but it keeps the tractor moving, and you don't want to mess it up knowing you have to.
That's right, yes sir.
But if these tractors can also pull a harrow, and pulling a harrow, the harrow can be offset. It can be one that is a smoothing harrow, and usually there's a hydraulic cylinder that fits on it that opens and closes the harrow so that it will be easier to move and to put the wheels down in order that you can move it on some hard ground and move it over different areas, move it down the road and things like that. That's what that separate lever does that's on the outside. Any kind of remote attachment that you might have. Well, it's been fun talking to you, and I appreciate it very much.
Yes sir, thank you. It's very nice to meet you.
Look forward to seeing you again next year.
We will, yes sir.
Hello everybody, my name is Conrad Barnes, and I'm down at Bostwick, Georgia with the North Georgia Two-Cylinder Club Parade. And we are now out looking at some of the tractors that have been set out to the side so that we can take a look at them and enjoy them and learn some more about them. I'm here now visiting with
Stephen Stone.
Stephen Stone. He is the owner of this Farmall Super A. How did you acquire this particular unit?
It's a long story, but I acquired it from a neighbor. He'd had it, I think it was his father's when it was brand new.
Yeah.
And when he got it to his house, it was locked up, wouldn't run, so me and him built it. And then when he decided to move, he gave it to me.
Well, that's good. You can, at least somebody can enjoy it now. Have you done anything to other than just get it to run, to restore it?
Just try to keep, I had to go through all the electrical on it to get the charging system right.
Right.
It was a goal to keep it 6 volt and still functioning.
Is it a magneto or is it
It's a coil.
coil? That's what I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of, yes. Electric start, of course, with,
Yep.
with the...
You got the option of hand cranking if you want to, but
is that right? Yeah. I noticed the hole is still over there
yeah,
on the
still
motor.
got the crank handle here.
So if the 6-volt system doesn't work, you can hand crank it.
Somebody can.
Do you-
I'd rather not.
Do you use this tractor other than just for showing?
Well, like I've only owned it for about 3 months, so it's been. My goal was to get it running and take some pictures in the parade and send it to my buddy that gave it to me,
Yeah,
and
well,
let him see that, and then decide what I'm going to do from there.
you tell him for us that we appreciate him giving it to you, because that way you can enjoy it, and all the parade people can enjoy looking at it and
Oh, yeah.
working with that.
And
Why is it offset this way?
I've heard stories on it. Most of your belly attachments went right up under the front right here. You had your plows and everything. And the advantage to sitting off to the side was they called it Cultivision.
Yeah.
You could look right down at your feet and see what was going on instead of having to look over your shoulder to see
So
what you were
visibility was the thing that they were
Yes,
trying
it
to
was.
accomplish. And it looks like it would be a good garden tractor for cultivating
For-
plants in the garden.
Oh yeah. My dad was raised on a tobacco farm, and when he was 14, this is the same year and same style tractor they got when he was 14.
I bet North Carolina sold. There was a lot of them
It
sold.
was
at
actually South
dealers in-
Georgia.
Yeah, and South Georgia, yes.
But, yeah.
I noticed that there's 3 pedals there. What are those pedals? And
You
what
got
do
your
they
clutch, and you got a left and a right brake.
do? The clutch is in the left, as it is a standard.
Yep. Then you got your option
configuration.
of your left and right brake for tighter turning and maneuvering around in the field.
And the hydraulics.
work.
I'm assuming that those levers are the hydraulics or something on the.
Yeah, you got a set of hydraulics for the front,
Uh huh.
and then you also got one that attaches and goes back to an actual 2-point hitch on the back.
Yeah.
So you had options of that.
And you raise and lower it by those 2 levers
Yes,
over
sir.
there.
Yep.
I noticed that also that it's a wide front end. Is that standard? Is that
On the
always?
Super A, it was always standard. I think the A, they had the tricycle front end. More like the Ford over the sides.
That's a very unusual arrangement for Ford is to
Yeah.
have that. Tricycle front end. Just walking toward the back. You mentioned it about a
2-point.
a 2-point hitch, which was pretty well standard with International back in these days,
Yep.
and that's a 2-point hitch.
And it works off the top where we got the bar attached, so it'll raise and lower the bar at the bottom. But
Uh-huh.
if you just take that off, it only operates from the top,
Uh-huh.
where your standard 3-point hitches come out at the bottom, and you got your 3rd point.
Lifts
that
all
hits.
3 points,
This one, and then you got a PTO drive.
and a PTO drives out of 540.
Yes.
That's pretty well standard on just about all of them.
Yep.
Is the 540s.
And
And
it also had options. You could put a belt pulley up here and run different attachments. We talked to one guy that's here, and his has got the pulley on it, but he doesn't have the belly mower.
Uh-huh.
And it comes back, goes to another pulley, and goes back under the front and drives 3 blades. He said the belt on that thing's about 20 foot long.
Yo, isn't that the truth? It's really long.
But they hooked the stuff. You got a gear drive up under here. You could hook. It's on the inside
Yep.
of the wheel. There were so many options of attachments you could do with these. They ran log splitters, whatever,
Anything that they could hook up with
sawmills.
anything they can hook up to the 540, to the PTO, or to that chain drive.
Yes, sir.
I think on YouTube I've seen some where they had a saw, that rotated into the blade, and it was powered by the International. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the model was, but it was a very unique tractor in that, and it was very handy around the farm. Also notice that the final drives have been dropped down a little bit. That's all to get it up a little bit.
Yep, for
Do
clearance.
they call it a high crop?
I don't think they do on this one, but I
You
think they
just
raised
got-
it up just because you had your belly attachments. They had to get it higher up to be
Yeah.
able to move your attachments up.
In order to put a rotary cutter under the belly of it,
Yes, sir.
rather than to the rear. But
Yes.
it could go either place.
Yes, sir.
And also, we got it up if you wanted to cultivate underneath some garden plants.
Right.
I'm thinking of things like tomatoes, beans, anything that might go in the
Do-
garden.
do-
Gets
do-
it up so you can
Yeah.
you can plow them, but you don't
Don't
you
tear
don't
'em
cut them
up.
up. Yeah,
Yes.
you can see them and don't cut them up. Anything else that you would like to?
No,
Is it a gasoline or diesel?
This is
distillate.
It's a gasoline,
Gasoline model, not distillate.
diesel.
Well, you see, some of the early ones was
Yeah.
distillate, which is
Yep.
a good grade of kerosene, really.
Yeah, this one, pure gasoline.
Pure gasoline. Steve, it was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.
Thanks for your time, and
Thank you.
Be looking for it on YouTube or whatever.
Okay,
If
thank
you would
you.
like.